Welcome to the Bettendorf Public Library's Take-Home Workshop. Today we're going to be making these beautiful beaded snowflakes. A little something sparkly, a little something shiny to brighten up your winter. Let's take a look and see what's in the kit. In our kit, you're going to find the beads. So we have 18 of the clear crystal beads, and we have a dozen of the blue ones. Of course, you could do this with any size beads. You could do it with any color of beads. They don't have to be sparkly, whatever you like. We went with something a little fancier, and because of that, we went with a very fine gauge wire, which you will also find in your kit. So this is a 26 gauge wire. I wanted to make sure I was telling you the right thing. 26 gauge wire. We have fairly small beads, so we needed small wire because for some of these beads, it's going to pass through the holes more than once. The other reason I wanted to go with a smaller wire is because you can cut it with scissors. So that's the other thing that you will need. I don't recommend using a good pair of scissors that you would use for fabric, but a craft scissors or something like that should snip the beads no problem. Of course, if you have a wire cutter, you can use that as well. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to take my wire and I'm going to snip about 20 centimeters off one end of it and set that aside. We'll use that later. And then I'm going to take the other length of my wire and I'm going to put 6 of the clear beads on there. Okay, so we have 6 of the clear beads on there. I'm going to even up my ends and bring those beads right down to the center of the wire so that we have even amounts of wire to work with on both sides. I'm going to snug them up, and then I'm going to take one of my ends of wire and I'm going to run it through the hole on the opposite end. So basically I'm making a loop with the wire going through one of the beads, one of the end beads, and then I'm going to pull that as snug as I can. And I'm going to have a little circle of 6 beads. To put on the arms of our snowflakes, we're going to start with a blue bead. Just going to put that on. Then a white, and another blue, and another white. So each of the arms, I guess, of your snowflake will have 2 white and 2 blue beads. So we've got those 4 on there. We're going to bend our wires so that we have a blue at the top and a blue at the bottom. And then we're going to take our wire and we're going to go back down through the first blue. Which can be a little tricky to see. So you're bringing the wire up through the beads, making a loop and coming back down through the first one. And then we're going to snug all this up against our original 6 as tightly as we can. And as much as possible, you want this to form just kind of almost like a little diamond so that it's a blue top and bottom and the white ones or the clear ones are on side to side. You might need to manipulate it and bend it around a little bit. Another reason to go with a lighter weight wire if you can, because it is easier to bend. And there's the first of our 6 points on our snowflake. Now we're going to take that same wire that we've been working with, and we're going to run it through the next white bead. I'm working away from this other tail of wire. So I'm going to slide it through there, pull it tight. You might get kinks in your wire, and if you just untwist them, you can usually pull those out. Then I'm going to do the same thing with this wire that I did before, where I'm going to put on 1 blue, 2 clears, and another blue. And then run it, well, I should say a blue, a clear, a blue, and a clear. Then I'm going to run it back through the hole of the first blue. Pull it snug. Then I'm going to take that wire and go through on our original 6, the bead that's just next to the one we just came up through. It does take just a little fidgeting around, arranging and bending. You could do this with ribbon or cord too, but it might be harder to get it to hold its final shape, since we're doing the wire itself is doing a lot of the work of keeping this in the shape that we want. We're going to do one more on this side, and then we're going to switch over to the other side and use what's left of this long tail to do the other 3. I have 3 points of my snowflake, all built on one side of the wire, and now you can see that this side of the wire is considerably shorter than the other one. So now I'm going to switch over to the longer wire from my first original 2, and I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to blue, yellow, or blue, white, wrap it around, bring it back through the blue, bring it through the next bead, do the same thing, and make 3 more points here. We now have our 6 points of our snowflake. It's looking a little uneven still because we haven't finished it off yet, but they're all there. So now we're going to take our tails and we're going to just run them through these base beads around to the other side. And pulling them tight as you go. I'm going to pull that as tightly as I possibly can, and then I'm going to get in there with my scissors as close to the bead as I possibly can, and I'm just going to snip that off, taking care not to cut any other wires while I'm at it. Then I'm going to repeat with the other side, where I'm running it through these base beads. I'm going to do one more on this side so that each of my wires is going through 3 of my base beads at the end here. And it does get a little tricky when you're down to the end, because if you've done a good job, then your beads are tight together, and so the wire a lot of times, instead of poking out someplace where you can grab it, it wants to just head right into the hole of the bead next to it. Which isn't terrible. I mean, if it goes through 2 beads instead of just 1. it's going to be that much more secure. So we're going to pull that as tight as we can, trying to get out any kinks, which I was not so successful on this time. Just going to use my scissors there as a pair of pliers to pull that out so I can get that kink out of there, because now I want to be able to pull that through the wire nice and tight, and I don't have to worry about cutting that one off because it broke. And that's okay, because now hopefully that breakage is down inside that bead there. And I have my snowflake. Now I'm going to take the little bit that I cut off at the beginning, or even one of these ends, and I'm just going to run it through one of the blue beads and then bring it up. Give it a little twist. And there you have your beaded snowflake. So please share with us your beaded snowflakes on our socials. And we'd like to thank the Bettendorf Public Library Foundation for sponsoring this take-home workshop.